Hey there, MuttMutt Outdoors here, and I'm out back. And actually, I recorded this video once before. I was out doing some stuff yesterday, recorded a couple of videos to try and take and get some content put out for everybody out there. And sadly, it's windy right now. And it has been the last couple of days. It's great out here because we have a bunch of wind generators and everything, but guess what? It really wreaks havoc on audio when you're trying to record stuff. And so hopefully I've got this microphone working and I don't have to do this again. If I do, well, you guys will probably hear about it that I've done it twice, but yeah. Anyway, so here's what I got going on today. One of the things that I want to start doing when I go to different dive operations is I want to do an interview with, one of the dive masters, preferably the owner, actually. And ask him a few questions. Yeah, I've got questions. I've wondered a few things, and actually I'm going to do that for you guys now. So the first question is what got you started in scuba diving? For me, I started because my wife passed away. Some people out there might know this, some people might not. February of 2019, my wife passed away at home. I found her and I started CPR. I tried to bring her back, and after she was gone, I was very lost. I was wandering a lot, and I was in Oklahoma City, not too far from where I was living at the time, and I ended up in a dive shop. And I'm not a skinny guy. I am working on it. I've lost some weight. I've been a lot heavier. And I'd like to lose at least another 50 pounds or so, and to be in a better range and everything. But anyway, so, and there's the wind. Yeah, like I said, it's windy out. I know. Deal with this area, but the wind generators are working great. So, so anyway, I did not expect to be able to dive. I'm sitting there thinking, they're not going to have wetsuits that are going to fit me. They're not going to have. It's just they're going to walk in. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to send me on my way. And they were like, hey, yeah, we can get you in the water tonight. If you want to. And I started filling out paperwork. The waivers and all that stuff and contact information. And a lot of places they have oh, hey, look, are you married, single, divorced, widowed, whatever. And it was just married and single. And in my heart, I was still married, but it didn't have it on there. And I broke down crying. It's just where I was at in that time of my life. But I got through it. I got the forms filled out, and I was in the water that night. And now I've done my advanced open water certification, which I did in Jamaica. And I did my rescue course back in Oklahoma City at the dive shop where I originally learned how to dive. Now I want to take that further, and I want to actually take people who've had traumatic experiences and teach them to dive for free. So, that's the reason why I have this channel, and hopefully things will work out. What is something embarrassing that you've had happen while diving? And to me, this is personally embarrassing, somewhere where you goofed up. I'm going to give you a little story here. And this is embarrassing for somebody else, but it's funny. I was at a place that's called the SCUBA Ranch in Texas. It's a little bit east of Dallas, Fort Worth area. And there was a dive master come up, and it's not uncommon for some people to float their gear. So you put a bunch of air in your BCD, you drop it in the water, and it'll just stay there. If you're on a boat where you're moving or something, yeah, it's going to float away. But, if you got a hold of it or it's calm water, no big deal. You enter the water, and then you swim over to your gear, you slip it on, you get everything adjusted, and boom, done. A lot better than taking and jumping in with all the weight on and everything, if that's your type of thing. I do it from time to time. So anyway, he set his gear over on the side, and he set it down, and he just let it go, right? And it didn't float. He didn't put any air in his BCD, and it went all the way to the bottom. I grabbed my gear, I had him hand me my gear. I got into it in the water. I was just sitting there floating around because I love being in the water when I can. And I dropped down, I found his gear, sent it back up to the surface. He was all happy, but still, embarrassing for him for sure. For me, it was actually during my advanced open water certification. I I had taken and been doing multiple dives, and the final dive that I actually wanted, they didn't have available. No big deal. So I did a boat dive after doing 6 other boat dives in my life and doing practice for boat dives and everything else. So you get the idea, you know. It was basically just a fun dive where they could sign off and say, yep, certified, right? So anyway, they actually took along a young lady that was doing a tri dive. For anybody who doesn't know what this is, a tri dive is basically, you're not certified. You'll have a dive master take you into the pool, teach you a few things, you know, hey, look, you can do this to clear your mask, you can do this, you can do this, okay, you can do this, you know, here's the regulator, do this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. All right, you got half an hour of training, let's go hop in the water. So this girl was excited about doing it, and she saw I had a camera, and she was like, oh, can can I get a copy of everything? And it's like, hey, look, sure, I'll be camera guy for this one. And they're dropping down along the buoy line. The boat was moored to this line, and the buoy line is basically just a line that runs down to the reef for an anchor or whatever, and is attached on permanently in that area, so it can be used multiple times. It makes it a lot easier, especially if there's a lot of dive sites in an area to get to. You know, you just pull up, grab a hold of the line, and hook on, and you're done, right? So anyway, they were going down that line, which is you just basically gently hold on to it, and you drop down slowly. And being an advanced diver, you know, I didn't need to do that, so I was just dropping down. And I ended up dropping down almost right on top of a little piece of reef. It's just a rock. I don't know, maybe about the size of a Volkswagen or something like that. But it was just very embarrassing for me, because I really do try and never, ever, ever touch any reef, any fish, anything like that, because it can cause harm to them. So it was really very embarrassing for me, and it's not something I'm proud of. And it's something that I've learned from, and I haven't done it again since. So good for me there, right? What's one of the most interesting things you've seen while diving? Well, I've seen dolphins on a reef twice. Actually, I did the first time when I was in Jamaica, and I was doing my advanced open water certification. I got no footage of it because it was a hurry up. The water was rough. Let's just get in the water and get down and get our things done. So I've got no footage of it, but it was really still very cool. And the funny thing about that is that got back to the dive operation, and the lady who's running the place, she's like, oh, how was it? And I said, oh, it was great. Saw dolphins. She's like, what? You saw dolphins on a reef? I was like, yeah, it was great, you know. And she's like, I hate you. She says, I have over 3,000 dives, and I've never seen dolphins on a reef. And it's like, did it in 50. So, you know, that was really cool. In Honduras, Roatan, I saw seahorse in the wild, which was really cool for me, because this little tiny thing, and yeah. The one that I find that's the most interesting, though, is in a video that is already posted. I was diving at a site called Rockstar in Roatan, and there was an eel, great big huge eel, had to have been, I don't know, 6-8 inches around, you know, across, and 6 feet long or so. Just huge eel out surfing the reef. I mean, eels don't normally come out like that unless they're really, really hungry or something startles them or whatever. Most of the time, all you see is their head stuck in a hidey hole. I think rattlesnake. You know, rattlesnake reared up, or no, not rattlesnake. Cobra reared up, sitting there waiting. Right, that's what you normally see. And I got to see one surf the reef, so that was really cool. And that's probably the most interesting thing that I've seen. What is one of the worst / most disturbing things you've seen a certified diver do? Actually, I've seen this happen multiple times, and it goes back to the embarrassing thing for me. To me, it's embarrassing touching the reef and causing any harm or damage to anything. And it's not something that we should be doing. In fact, we're actively taught, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because we want to keep the reefs alive and available for everybody to explore for generations. We want to keep it that way forever. And hopefully that's something that we can do. We have a lot of places that do restoration projects and everything, and that's something I'd love to be able to go out and do sometime as well. But so it never fails that there's a certified diver who has split fins, and they're going out and they're doing an ocean dive. Now, one problem with split fins is split fins are not as stiff and don't propel you as well. So if you're spending more money on split fins, realize you're wasting your money, okay? Unless you're actively doing a cave dive or you're going into wreck penetrations and stuff like that, split fins don't do you any good. And it always seems to be this person with split fins that does this. And they end up, they're cruising along and their feet are down and they're kicking corals and they're kicking, you know, all this stuff, and they're tearing things up. And it just, I cringe at it every single time. I hate seeing it. Because again, if we're tearing these things up, they're not going to be there for the next person. And a lot of these reefs, they're thousands of years old. And it takes a long time for some of those corals to grow, especially like the SPS. If you don't know what an SPS coral is, go look it up. There's a lot of people who have them in aquariums, and these things grow inches per year, you know, and they get heavy and on the top, and then they break down, and that's what actually forms a reef, and we're destroying it and seeing. So now, what would you tell someone who's interested in diving but feels they can't? Unless you have something medically wrong with you, a heart condition or a lung condition that prevents you from diving, I don't care. Get out there. Go do it. I don't care if you're 450 pounds. If you can find a BCD that you can fit into, or if somebody has to do, get out there and do it. I'm not light. I'm not a little guy. I am losing weight. I've been working on that for a while, and it's tough. You know, there's a lot of people that their systems, they can eat anything they want and they're skinny. Everybody's not that way. Don't let somebody sit down and tell you, oh, you can't dive because there are people who have had amputations that dive. Yes, things have to be adjusted. Yes, you may have to get a doctor's release if you have some sort of an issue. And the wind, but get out there and do it. If you can't fit into a BCD today, then work towards it. Go out and do something. Move around. Get out of your room. Lose a couple of pounds. There's a lot of people out there who could use it. I'm one of them. I could use losing a few pounds. I can admit that. Okay? But if you get out there and you do it, and you start getting active, and you start doing things, and you get into the water, you can do anything you want. Okay? And I love being in the water because I feel weightless. And I love being in the water. So, what's a small skill or concept that you would like certified divers to know that isn't in the books? Okay, so this one here, this is actually something that I kind of figured out in pool. You know, there's a lot of times where, as a diver, we have a certain position that we want to be in. We want to be horizontal, with our knees bent and up behind us like this. And it's hard to show with your hands and everything. But what you'll find is that when you're dropping down, you're generally vertical. Okay, you jump in vertical. Your head is up, your feet are down, and you start to drop down. And as you're descending, you're slowly dropping down. You're taking you're equalizing your pressures and everything, and you get down almost to where you're at and where you want to be, the level you want to be at. And then you take and you start going from this position where you're vertical, and you start to go horizontal, and then you flatten out. Well, what'll happen is the air in your BCD will actually be in that pocket up in the upper part. I mean, you were like this, so naturally the air is going to kind of hold you like this. If you take your body and you bend at the hips and you kind of do this, you can shift that air bubble into the bottom part of your BCD, and it will hold up a little bit more on your hips. And so then you're not swimming along like this. Now you're swimming along like this. It's not in the books. It's something that I kind of figured out, and I think it works great. And the thing is that even if you add a little bit more air into your BC over time, it's not going to hurt anything. If you end up being vertical and then you shift again, yeah, you can shift that air bubble back into the back. But that air will move around inside your BC. It doesn't matter if it's jacket style or if it's backplate and wing style or whatever. You can move that air around and shift it into a better position. And, you know, along with some tastefully placed weights higher up on your back, that will get you into that flat position where you want to be. What's the most difficult thing I've had to deal with diving so far? Difficult. Money. To be 100% honest, I'm not rich. I don't think I ever will be. And honestly, would I really want to be rich? I mean, I have dreams. Would I love to win the lottery or something? Yeah. I would fund my ability to teach people to dive overnight. I would be doing my instructor course tomorrow. Money would be no object. You know, yeah, I'd do a few other things. I'd probably buy 1,000 acres of land and potentially do some stuff. Build a dive center where I can have people come in and learn to dive for free and everything, you know, stuff like that. But it's not a cheap hobby. It's not cheap to get started. You know, depends upon where you're at. In my area, I can find a dive shop for around $400 to get certified, to go from nothing to certified. You know, but you got to get there. There's other things. You know, but gear is expensive. You know, if you're going to go on a trip to travel somewhere, it takes a little bit of money. My stuff, I generally tend to save up for a year to be able to do a trip. I don't get to do anything huge and extravagant. I would love to be able to go out to Fiji and Tonga and the Philippines and all kinds of other different places all over the world. One that I'd love to do, it's actually by Italy. There's an old ruins that are underwater, and there's no real fish, there's no reefs, but to be able to go down there and see where the guide pulls back the gravel that's protecting the frescoes and stuff, and seeing all the tile work, that I think it would just be really cool, you know. And it's something that I would be able to see that, you know, the average person doesn't. So, you know, money, it's always going to be an issue. And that's one of the reasons why not only do I want to certify people who are low income, but I want to take and provide them the gear. I know that they're not going to be able to go a lot of these other places. And there's always going to be something that we want to do, someplace we want to go to be able to enjoy this stuff. But at the very least, I can take these people and get them in the water, and I can take them and say, hey, look, you know, I dive lakes where there's not very much visibility, maybe 5-6 feet. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting, because as long as you got 5 or 6 feet of visibility, it's not bad. You can see what's around you. You can be swimming along. And I do trash dives in that type of stuff. You know, I find pieces of trash, and you're swimming along, and hey, look, you know, you might find a quarter. You might find a $50. You might find a beer can. You might find, you know, a pair of sunglasses. You might find somebody's cell phone. You never know what's going to be out there. And so, you know, just because you don't have a lot of money doesn't mean you can't dive. But there's a little bit of a cost to get started, and that's what I want to cover. That's what I want to fix. And then, you know, to be able to take a small group every year and be able to go and, you know, certify them for advanced open water certification, take them to someplace like Jamaica and do their certification there. Take them to someplace like Roatan and do their certifications there. Even, you know, Cozumel or Cancun or any of the other places around that, you know, are more tropical. I would love to be able to take some students and do their advanced open water certification for stuff like that. And money's always going to be an object. But I think that, you know, if I can make this channel work, I can make it better. And final question, what would I tell someone who is interested in progressing further in diving? Go for it. You know, you don't have to go into the master scuba diver or dive master. Master scuba diver it's nice. It's nice to be able to say, hey, look, I did this, but it doesn't make you any better of a diver than somebody who has rescue certification. Rescue certification is great. If you can do it and you can go through all that stuff, go out there and get it done. Get your advanced open water certification. Get it so that you can take and go 130 feet underwater. You know, do some of the stuff. Get some skills built up. Get some time in the water. Learn outside of that. There's a lot of things that you can learn by watching videos on YouTube. There's a lot of things that you can learn by reading books. There's a lot of things that you can learn by reading articles. Scuba, the breathing systems, it's a hydraulic system. Go learn about hydraulics. Go learn about how they work, how they function. There's a lot of things that you can figure out and get in this head of yours that will teach you things that other people don't know. I was down in Jamaica and I had my regulator rebuilt. And when I got done with one of the dives, I pulled out a tool and I made a little bit of an adjustment on it. And I had the people sitting there going, wait, what are you doing? What is that? These are dive masters. And they don't know how to do some of this stuff because the way that operation worked was they sent all their gear over to a head office. They didn't rebuild anything of their own there. They didn't do any of that stuff. So they didn't have any clue. I, as a regular person who went from being just a regular scuba diver to an advanced open water scuba diver, knew and understood that stuff because I learned it. You can get out there and learn tons of things like that. You don't have to do it in a classroom, okay? Concepts are huge. You can do it, you know. Even if you don't have the money to be able to do a lot of this other stuff, there's a lot of things you can figure out. There's a lot of things you can learn. And you can do a CPR course and learn a lot of what's going on for the rescue certification. That is part of rescue. You have to be CPR and first aid certified. You know, you have to understand how to do certain parts of this stuff, certain things to help somebody survive. You're learning more in depth than water. That's a part of the certification. But even if all you do is just go get CPR certified, you're going to be a better person diving because if something does happen, you are going to be there to be able to help. It doesn't all have to rely on dive skills, okay? So anyway, that's it. That's my little questionnaire. This is something that I want to do when I go to dive operations. I want to take the guy who owns, runs, manages, whatever it is, and ask them questions. I'd love to sit down with anybody. And I'll probably have something like this as well for people who I end up taking and certifying. I'm gonna have a list of questions that I'd like to ask them because I would like you guys to get to know the people that you're helping support. That's the reason why I'm doing this, because the first person you're going to support, if you help me get my channel going and get some funding coming through, is you're going to be helping me to go from a rescue certified diver to a dive master and then on to an instructor. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all those good things. Share it. Go out and grab your buddy's phone. Go grab your sister's phone. Go grab your husband's phone or your wife's phone or whoever, and take and load up you know, a video and take and let it play. Subscribe them if that's what you got to do. Tell your friends. Tell anybody that will listen. I do all kinds of stuff like that, and that will make the channel grow. All right? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.